Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the AOC AGON AG271QG. Now this monitor is very expensive. It can be found for around £615 to £580 in the UK, and on Amazon USA for $690. Now you might be wondering, what do I get for all that money? Well, good question. You get a 27-inch display that has NVIDIA's G-Sync built in within it. It has an IPS display running at 4 millisecond response time. It has a resolution of 2560 x 1440 that runs natively 144 Hz, but can be overclocked, factory overclocked via the on-screen display to 165 Hz. So those are the specs that you're going to need to know and want to know, and also there's the aspect ratio, which I forgot, it's 16:9. So that is what you're paying for this monitor. Now, some of you that might know my channel or that know about AOC's AGON line might know of the AG271QX. Now, I've previously reviewed that one, and that will be in a link in the description below. Basically, the QX, in terms of differences, had only 144 Hz, not 165. It had AMD FreeSync and not NVIDIA G-Sync within it. And it also ran on a TN 1 millisecond response time panel rather than a 4 millisecond IPS. So in this video, I'll also be looking at if the AG241QG, the monitor that you can see right here, is worth it versus the QX, which I'd previously reviewed. I also will be comparing it to the Asus ROG Swift PG279Q, which is also an IPS 165 Hz G-Sync monitor, and the ViewSonic XG2703GS, which again has the exact same specifications. Funnily enough, just today I got a comment on my YouTube channel on one of these monitors, which I think was the ViewSonic, where someone said these are all recycled AU, I think it's an AU electronics or something like that on top of my head, panels which have been rebranded by these companies such as AOC, Asus, ViewSonic, and there's another brand out there I can't remember. But that it could very well be the case, but nevertheless I have to review the monitor because that's what I'm reviewing. It's an AOC monitor. So, starting off with the build quality is fantastic. With the AGON line, generally speaking, I've been very impressed. You've got height adjustment, you've got full 180 pivot, and you've got tilt adjustment. There's nothing there that isn't featured. On top of that, the stand is very solid. It's got a metal stand, has a nice design to it. It even has a hook at the back, or so a hook like a holder which you can pick up the monitor. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but nevertheless it's there. And on the right hand side, which you might not be able to see, you've got a little headphone holder, which is always useful for LAN parties or if you just want to store your headphones conveniently somewhere. So in terms of build quality, it's very good, and in terms of the bezels itself, they're very thin, very small, therefore not distracting your eyes from the actual main image on the panel itself. So build quality, top notch, as always, from AOC, or at least the AGON line. I'm very much impressed with it, so I've got no complaints. And yes, the stand isn't wobbly as long as you screw it in properly. Now, the on-screen display was actually quite intriguing to me. The reason why is because it's the first time I've seen a new on-screen display from AOC, and in all honesty, I feel it's a little bit limited. It doesn't feel as complete, and given the price of the monitor, I'm, to be honest, a little bit disappointed. First of all, it actually comes down to the settings. Now, when I say settings, I mean color setup. Now, I've got it on user 65, 65, 65, which first of all might strike you as a bit weird. Why do you have it on 65? Well, the reason behind that is because when I set it to 50, 50, 50, which is the default out the box, the monitor was very low in terms of brightness. Even with the brightness ramped up to 100, it still was low. So then, when I went to the OSD and went into color setup and then went into color temp and changed it to RGB, you'll be able to see it has 65 through the board on there, and that's exactly what I did for user, and it just resulted in a slightly brighter image because I was able to adjust the brightness, and also because I was able to fine tune it if I wanted to, but 65 through the board seemed to work the best in terms of color. So it's just a little bit intriguing because it's the first time I've seen a monitor running on 65 rather than 50 or 100. So it's a little bit weird to start with. So in terms of color setup, you've got the options obviously for RGB. Within luminance, you've got contrast, brightness, which is pretty much a standard. Game color is almost increasing the vibrance of the screen, which can be useful in certain games which lack a little bit of vibrance. Shadow color, gamma, and overdrive. So overdrive, I've got it on strong because I'll be testing out its gaming, and I must say overdrive didn't negatively, not too bad, too badly affect the monitor's performance in terms of ghosting. Other than that, the OSD is pretty much simple. You've got OSD setup, and you've got the extra which allows you to overclock. Now the overclocking facility is very easy. You just enable it or disable it and put on the max refresh rate, 144 being the default, and you can go up to 165. But other than that, the OSD felt a little bit simple to me. I felt like I wanted a few more options. Given the price of the monitor, I would have just expected a little bit more. But nevertheless, it does work as intended and provides me with the basic options that I would want as a gaming monitor. Now let's move on to the panel quality itself. It's an IPS panel running at 4 milliseconds. Is it really nice? Well, funnily enough, just like the Asus ROG and like the ViewSonic, I felt this IPS panel was slightly washed out. Yet again, just like the other panels, and very much like a YouTube commenter posted on my channel, these panels seem the same. And in all honesty, I see no difference between the ViewSonic, Asus, and this panel. They all seem very, very similar. They've got good colors, don't get me wrong. They're very accurate in terms of their color reproduction, and through an IPS display you'd expect good viewing angles, which you do, and deep blacks and accurate whites, which again you do get. But the colors seem slightly washed out, as if the panel has a slight white glare on it. When I first got it out the box and plugged it in without any sort of calibration of sorts, I felt it was like a TN panel, like a really good TN panel. But no, it is indeed an IPS panel, but has this washed out look to it. In terms of comparison between the ROG Swift from Asus and the ViewSonic, in all honesty, there's not much difference. In panel quality itself, I would feel like go for whichever the one it comes best. Now, through research, I also found people complaining about backlight bleed and yellow tints through the monitor. Thankfully, I don't have that problem. That said, I was sent a brand new unit straight from the AOC's headquarters, and of course review samples can always be more favourable. So do bear that in mind if you get the monitor. Based on what I've read on Amazon reviews, obviously they can be fake, but they seem like verified purchases. Make sure you check for the backlight bleed. There was very, very slight backlight bleed on the right hand side and the very lower left hand side. I didn't have any sort of color uniformity problems or brightness uniformity problems, but I did notice a very slight backlight bleed on either corner, bottom corner. Now, is that normal? Well, to be honest, on all LED panels, including high-end TVs or 4K displays, which are super high-end, you're going to notice that unless it's fully backlit LED, as in LEDs throughout the screen. All LED panels which are made monitors, they will have backlight LEDs around the corners, and therefore you get a slight backlight bleed. Depending on your luck is how much you'll get of it. In my case, I didn't have that much, and it's in all honesty better than the rest in comparison to LED panels I've tested. Now let's go into gaming. Now gaming, I'm just going to launch up Counter-Strike, and hopefully the game hasn't kicked me out, and of course there we go, it has. It's fine. So in terms of the actual performance, I was actually impressed with the gaming performance. However, in comparison to the QX, the TN version of it, I felt that it was slightly slower in terms of response. Of course, just like the ROG Swift and the ViewSonic, I felt that it performed very much admirably. I don't think people will be having any problems playing competitively on this game, or playing competitively on any game, so to speak. There's a slight delay in terms of input lag in comparison to the QX, but it's very, very minimal, and the response time of the monitor is very, very good, and there is no sort of, well, there is a slight overshoot ghosting that occurs with strong overdrive, but it's so minimal that you will be able to forgive it and actually just play on it with strong mode enabled. So in all honesty, it's a fantastic monitor for gaming. I would recommend it for sure, and then it just all depends on you in terms of you wanting to use NVIDIA's G-Sync or not. And if you're not going to be using NVIDIA G-Sync, save yourself about £200 and buy the QX. So in other words, guys, this monitor is a great monitor for gaming. It's a good monitor all round, but it is very expensive in comparison to what you can buy from AOC's own very line, the Agon AG271QX. I would much prefer buying the AG241QX unless some NVIDIA G-Sync is really important to you. Then you've got the option of the Asus ROG and the ViewSonic and the AOC QG out there for you to choose from. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this video. Thank you guys. Bye bye.